Posted by you/ruin my sister's life. I'm a disabled 21-year-old male, living with my older sister, who is 27. I've been a paraplegic since childhood due to an accident. Our only remaining parent, our dad, is quite old and ill. He lives in a nursing home. My sister takes me to visit him occasionally. My sister is essentially my full-time caregiver. She has a job that she works to support both of us, and when she's not working, she's usually taking care of me. She's had a serious boyfriend for 9 years. They've been together since she was 18. As far as I can tell, it's always been a very committed relationship. He's a great guy and has always been kind to me. He hasn't hesitated to offer financial help from time to time. I know my sister has always dreamed of marriage. We've talked about it a lot since we were kids. We used to play weddings, and she would always imagine the day she'd get married. She'd spend hours looking at bridal dresses. Even as an adult, she'd fantasize about her wedding day, often browsing bridal dresses and talking about her dream wedding. She would imagine the house she'd like to have and had names for her future kids picked out since childhood. She's always stuck with those names. So, yeah, getting married and having a family has been a dream of hers for as long as I can remember. Given how long her boyfriend has been in her life and how good he's been to her, I always figured he'd be the one she'd marry. And I would have been happy for her. She'd finally have someone to take care of her, instead of always being the one taking care of me. But that dream came crashing down. One day, she came home completely distraught, crying her eyes out. She told me they had broken up, it was over. She was so heartbroken, it was devastating to see her like that. It felt like a dagger in my heart to see her in such pain, and I felt utterly useless because all I could offer were empty words. She wouldn't tell me why they broke up, and I assumed she didn't want to talk about it. After a few days, she was still upset and wouldn't open up. I told her I'm her brother, though I'm physically disabled, my heart and mind are perfectly fine, and she could talk to me about anything. Reluctantly, after some pushing, she finally opened up. She told me her boyfriend had proposed to her. I was thrilled at first and told her that was amazing news. But then I asked why they had broken up. She'd always wanted to get married and had been waiting for this moment for years. She explained that when her boyfriend proposed, they discussed their future. He wanted her to move in with him, and they planned to arrange for a separate caregiver to look after me. They would still see me occasionally, but my sister would no longer be my caregiver. She said she couldn't accept that arrangement. Her boyfriend was firm in his position, and they couldn't reconcile their differences, so they broke up. I told her she was crazy for not choosing her boyfriend. I know how much she loved him, and he was just as devoted to her. I told her she should have gone ahead and gotten married. She can't stay tied to me forever, she should live her own life and have her own family. She kept crying and told me she had come to terms with the fact that she would never have the life she'd always dreamed of. She said she'd never be a bride, have a wedding, or start a family of her own. Instead, she was resigned to taking care of me for the rest of her life. I tried to reassure her, saying she didn't need to take care of me forever and that she should focus on her own life. But she insisted that this was her choice. She said it's her responsibility, her duty to me and our family. She made it clear that she wouldn't have it any other way. When I kept pushing, she got upset and told me to stop trying to dictate her life. She said she was in charge of her own decisions. I apologized, and she said it was okay, but I could tell she was still upset. Why is she doing this to herself? I don't understand. Doesn't she see that I don't want her to sacrifice her dreams for my sake? Why would she give up her boyfriend of 9 years like that? She loved him, and he loved her. Why would she push him away? I never asked her to make this sacrifice for me. I told her I'd be fine with getting another caregiver, but she refused. She said it has to be her, no one else. She's adamant about it, no matter how much I try to reason with her. I hate myself so much right now. I've never hated being disabled more than I do at this moment. I feel like a helpless burden, a ball and chain tying her down and preventing her from living her own life. All I want is for her to be happy, to live her life, and to be beautiful and radiant on her wedding day like she's always dreamed of, not stuck taking care of me forever. I've even thought about ending my life so she could finally be free. I'm not just saying that, I've seriously considered it. I know she'd grieve for a while, maybe even a few years, but eventually, she'd move on, get married, and live the life she's always wanted. It feels like the only way she'd ever find true happiness. I don't know how to convince her to prioritize herself and her own life. How can I help her see that she deserves happiness and freedom? How can I talk some sense into her? Please, if anyone has advice, I'm desperate to help her. Update 2 days later. This is an update to the post I made 2 nights ago. First of all, I want to thank all of you who posted such kind and heartwarming comments. That was incredibly thoughtful of you, and I deeply appreciate it. I'm feeling much better now. I understand things more clearly and have talked it over with my sister. It seems I was confused, and in the heat of the moment, there were a lot of misunderstandings. After discussing everything with my sister, we are both feeling much better and more optimistic now. We agree that things may have turned out for the best. I now realize, after her explanation, that he wasn't right for her, even though they had been together for so long. I guess the length of their relationship left me with a false impression. Firstly, as my sister explained, it seems he didn't say I couldn't visit at all, as I had thought. Instead, he had suggested that I couldn't visit whenever I wanted. They had set times and schedules for when I could visit to ensure I wasn't constantly interrupting and interfering with their lives. However, it seems my sister didn't like this at all. She said she realized her boyfriend had a problem with me and wanted to create some distance between her and me, and she wasn't okay with that at all. I told her I thought she loved him. She said she thought she did too, but she knows her priorities in life and is old enough and mature enough to decide what she wants from it. I reminded her that she had always wanted to get married, have children, and start a family ever since she was young. She explained to me that she still does to a certain extent, but only if the conditions are right. She said that she was a different person when she was younger. Now that she's older, her ideals and priorities have changed. She said that if she does get married, it's essentially what one commenter described as a package deal. I'd have to be included in the family too, and I'd have to live with them and be part of their family full time. She said that if any potential husband couldn't accept that, then he could get lost. That's how she feels about her now ex-boyfriend, and she said she feels much more positive about her future now that he's gone. She said that while she was with him, she always felt unsure about what the future held for her and me. But now that she's made her decision, she knows she'll never let go of me. I asked her what would happen if this meant she'd never get married. What if she never found a guy who was okay with all this and willing to settle down with her and me in the picture? She said that if that's the case, so be it. As she explained, I'm her family now. I exist, and I'm the most important thing to her. She won't sacrifice me for a hypothetical husband or children who don't yet exist but may one day. She said her priority will always be me and taking care of me throughout my life and disability. She couldn't imagine living her life any other way. I asked her if she felt she was severely limiting herself by chaining herself to me. Didn't she feel like she was restricting her opportunities and what she could achieve in life? She explained that the years she has spent taking care of me have helped shape her identity. Taking care of me is now part of who she is and what she lives for. I found that amazing, but she said she could have it no other way. She told me I provide just as much to her as she provides to me, maybe even more. I said she was exaggerating, but she insisted it was true. She explained that caring for me brings so much joy and happiness to her life, she doesn't know how she could live without it. To her, it's much more important than the possibility of having a husband or children. I found it hard to wrap my head around that. I joked that I couldn't imagine it's always that fun, especially when she's, say, wiping crap from my rear or something. She laughed and explained how even things that seem gross, disgusting, or painful can still be beautiful and cherished when you consider the love involved. She compared it to a mother giving birth. After 9 months of sickness and swelling, her body is ripped open, there's blood everywhere, and she experiences the most intense pain of her life. But at the end of it, it's beautiful because it's an act of love. So yes, even wiping crap from my rear, gross and disgusting as it may seem, is an act of love. It's an example of how much she, as my sister, cherishes me as her brother and the lengths she will go to because of our bond. That, I think, is beautiful and true love. Now I have a completely new outlook on her and our life. It's much more positive, and I no longer see myself as a burden or a chain. She helped me understand my self-worth and value. I'm not just some disabled guy in a wheelchair who needs help. I'm a brother who provides love, friendship, and value to this amazing, beautiful, kind-hearted woman I'm so proud to call my sister. I no longer have any thoughts about ending my life because I now understand how much I mean to her and how much it would hurt her if I were gone. I could never bear to do that to her. I just wanted to share this update with you all, especially after the incredibly warm and supportive comments you gave me. They were so uplifting. Even though I'm physically disabled, I consider myself incredibly fortunate because I'm blessed with love. This love is the most amazing thing in the world, and I can't imagine living without it. Thank you all so much.